Hi, everybody. Do you sometimes feel that your content is just kind of blah, or do you not know how to create content that stands out from all the noise that we find online? Right? Do you struggle to create something that resonates with your audience only to see it get lost in the algorithm? How frustrating is that, right? Today, we're going to talk to an expert in content strategy, and we're going to explore how to transform your content strategy in under an hour, turning your message into a powerful magnet that attracts and retains customer. This is Strategy Talks. I'll be right back.
Let's strategize together. Let's hear it from an expert. Join the conversation, it's informative and free. You and me, let's talk some strategy. Now here's your host, Dorien Morin-van.
And we are live. Episode 1 of season 4 of Strategy Talks is here with my guest, Paul Banks, who I'll introduce you to in just a minute. I want to welcome everybody to season 4. I'm very excited. I have an incredible lineup of strategic thinkers talking about strategy, business strategy, social media strategy, marketing strategy, content strategies, AI strategies, you name it. We're going to talk strategies all year long. I'm super excited. I want to welcome those of you who are live with us. If you have questions, feel free to ask questions in the comments, whether you're here on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, welcome. And a special shout out to those of you today who are listening to Strategy Talks as a podcast. Once more, I appreciate you being here. Without much further ado, you know how this goes. I'm going to bring onto the stage today's guest. His name is Paul. Hi, Paul. How are you?
Hi, everyone. Hi, Dorien. Thanks for having me along. Good to be here.
Absolutely. I am so excited to kick off season 4 with you. You and I had a meeting earlier, actually at the end of 2024, and we realized that we do a lot of the same things, right? You are in the UK, I'm in the US, but we do a lot of content strategy when we work with our clients. So I'm very excited to talk to you about that. And you have a framework, right, Paul?
Yep. I think it's fun, right, Dorien? Because if I'm honest, I'm kind of the anti-strategy guy, right? I hate strategy, right? I know I need to do it, and I'm like every other business owner out there. I know I need to do it, and I know I need to have a plan, but my brain just doesn't want to do it, and that's where I came from when I developed the framework. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into this and kind of sharing my thought process with people. I'm sure it'll be useful for lots of people out there, or for kind of their clients as they're just kind of getting started out in the early stages where they're really coming up against that wall of, we need to create a strategy, but I really don't want to.
Well, it can be a scary word, and that's what I'm trying to get to with season 4 is I want to talk strategies for everything, because if you have a strategy, that means you have a goal and you have a plan. And without a goal, you can't get to the finish line and you're never finished. So that's, I think, what is so exciting about this season. And then I'm excited to start with this conversation with you about, a content strategy in under an hour. What does that look like? You said your framework has to do with visualization. You want to elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, so obviously, as you've said, Dorien, I talk to people a lot about video content. Video content is my business. And I found that through my previous job. We can get into that in a moment. But I know that there's nothing out there that connects the personalities behind the business emotionally with the audience quite like video. Aside from the fact it's pretty much the only medium that's left that now can't be destroyed by AI and ruined, right? Like it has to be organic.
It can. I'm going to interrupt you right there.
Not there
you
yet.
might have already seen, all of you, the AI clones are out there. Last year when they first came out, some of my contemporaries were cloning themselves and putting those videos on LinkedIn. And I think they bombed. They stopped doing them because they would make 5, 10, 15 and post one every day, and they didn't get any engagement. It's out there, but I think the use case wasn't, especially not on LinkedIn. So yes, I agree.
But I think that's the point. I think that's exactly the point, right? Like, you can do what you want with AI and artificial graphics, but it can't replace me looking you in the orange, sharing my advice and my value and my services. So I think that's extremely important. But people get hung up on video in so many different ways, not least of which is, what on earth do I talk about when I'm on video? It's bad enough that I have to get on camera, Paul, but like, you want me to talk about things as well? And yes, you do have to talk about things. And I used to, I mean, I'm just entering the 3rd year of my own business, right? So very much getting down and dirty with strategy myself this year for my own business, getting very intentional with strategy. But for the longest time, I just danced around the subject with my clients. And I was, I kind of prayed and hoped for clients that came along that knew what they wanted to talk about, which would be convincing. And I realized that's not really a great approach. But I struggled for the longest time to talk to them about how to create content that converts in a way that they could understand very quickly and easily and simply. Because a lot of them have come to me and they're kind of jaded from other marketing companies that they might have worked with, and potentially overcomplicated strategies that they just haven't been able to implement. And then the marketer turns around and goes, well, that was your fault because you didn't follow my instructions. It frustrates me massively. I'm not saying everyone's like that, certainly not, but there are a lot of companies out there that will just inundate the clients with instructions and tasks. And I eventually, as I launched my own YouTube channel and got to grips with it and figured it all out, it's very much a work in progress always with YouTube. It's just like the LinkedIn algorithm. It takes a lot of figuring out. But as I came to use it, I realized that the YouTube channel itself could act as a way to help people, as something everybody understands and everybody knows. It acted in itself as a way to help them visualize a process to follow to create good quality content that lined up. And I think that's what a lot of people miss, as you kind of alluded to at the beginning, Dorien, is we'll go out there and we'll create some content on this week and some content on that next week. And this is not just video, by the way, this is across the board.
Sure.
But you need to join the dots. Because whilst this is a great idea and this is a great idea, if they don't talk to each other, people are going to come to you, look at your content, and be clueless about what you're actually trying to achieve. The key is to have a flow between your content that feels natural. People know what they're going to get.
I love it. And so let's dive into that. That's your framework on YouTube visualization. And I am really curious to learn more. So I know you have a presentation. You want to go through that and show us. I know that those of you who are listening, Paul is aware that this is a podcast as well as a live show. So he's going to also talk about what might be on the slide, but he's going to explain how this framework works for YouTube. And I'm super interested because this is the year that I am going all in on YouTube myself. Last year I was all in on LinkedIn, which has produced wonderful things for me. And so now I want to take it to YouTube as well. So I'm curious to hear. Paul, I'm going to bring this onto the stage and I'll let you get through. And that's awesome. We've got some people here too that are listening and watching. So Paul, go ahead and take it away. If I have questions, I'll stop you right there.
Absolutely no problem at all. So what I'm going to call out first of all, as you pointed out before the show, Dorien, this isn't necessarily aimed at marketers, right? I understand that marketers are going to look at this and think, geez, I did this in year 1 or year 2 in my business. Absolutely, completely get where that comes from. This is a strategy that's aimed at, a framework that's aimed at those people who might come to you in those early days and really just need something simple to get their teeth into. Something to get them away, an MVP, if you like. So this is a talk that I used to run as a webinar on a regular basis. I probably will run it again in the future. And it was about the idea, when I said to people, I can help you create your own content strategy. I don't need to do it for you. You can create it yourself and you can do it in less than an hour. That really grabs people's attention because in my mind, a strategy takes days weeks, potentially months to create fully and refine. So the idea that they could have something quick, we're all looking for that hack, something that ticks our laziness box. And this is kind of, I wouldn't describe it as a hack, but it's a starting point
Well,
before they move on to
I
a
love
more
that.
concrete strategy.
And let's make the point that a content strategy is a piece in an overall marketing strategy, social media strategy, you know, like engagement strategy. There's all different kind of strategies. So the content piece lays underneath the overall marketing and even underneath the social media strategy. So just wanted to put that out there. We, you know, as a social media professional, often we are asked to do a lot of things and wear a lot of hats. If you're a content marketer, you understand this piece very well. But if you're a business owner, you might not understand that this piece, the content strategy piece, comes after you've said your business goals, your marketing goals, your social media goals, and then you get into the content strategy. So you should already have a lot of these other things set up, and then within an hour you can create this. So just wanted to frame that for everybody that's listening and watching, so you understand that this is not the start of starting a business. You don't start with a content strategy.
Exactly. And like a lot of the people that are listening out there that are those small business owners, I started off just like you. I was starting a business in video repurposing and video content, and I didn't have a strategy. I didn't have a clue what to do. And I kind of built it this way without realizing. So I'm going to walk you through what I built, and then kind of take you on the journey as to the moment I realized what I'd done.
Good.
So it's about creating content that converts, right? There's no point getting engagement, getting views, getting likes, if it doesn't turn into revenue in your business. We're all out there to convert people into raving fans and customers. But hands on heart, right? I'm just a dad with 2 young kids. I'm a husband. I run 2.5, maybe 3 businesses sometimes, depends on who you talk to, in a 4-day week. Right, so I do everything super efficient. I spent 15 years in retail and as a volunteer police officer, learning how to, not that I knew it at the time, how to use my ADHD superpowers to my advantage. And that helps me become super efficient. I'm a doer. I'm very much about creating processes that are efficient and effective. And my why is to kind of help people make better choices, so that they can live their best lives. And that's the vision behind the business that helps me, you know, sleep at night when I've worked with my clients, when I've helped people get where they need to go, and why I wanted to share this today, Dorien. The challenges that most business owners come up against are on the screen. So for people who's listening along on podcast, anxiety is right at the top of that list about being on video. We're not designed by nature to see ourselves on a screen, right? It's not comfortable. Back when we were living in caves, we didn't have mirrors. We were designed to find food, eat it, and survive. That was it. And we still have a lot of that psychology in our brains. So when somebody comes to me and says, I really don't want to be on video because I've got a face for radio and my voice is awful, I have 800 hours on YouTube, and I still hate seeing myself, and I still hate listening to myself. And unfortunately, I get to do my own editing.
Yeah, I want to point that out too, that it definitely the anxiety is, and that self-imposed imposter syndrome is higher in women than it is in men. So you know, one way to move past this is to just do it, and then the other way is to just, you know, get feedback from the right people, right? If you're not sure about how you look on camera, ask your girlfriends if you're a woman, you know, and ask feedback from others who are creating video and how they deal with it. Go to the ones that are already doing it. And I can tell you from my experience that yes, indeed, like Paul, I edit my own videos. I don't always love it, but here is my truth. It done is better than none. And that's kind of what I've been saying. If my video is done, it's edited, it has subtitles, it has captions, and it has a title, and it gets the word across, the message across, I'm going to post it. And if I happen to have a piece of spinach in my teeth, or if I happened, you know, something not quite right, I might edit it out. But if not, I'm okay with it because the message is too important. So let's get it done.
Agreed. And yeah, I'll second that and go as far as to say if that you happen to record the video more than a couple of times maximum, then you're trying too hard to be perfect. I personally don't re-record unless a disaster has happened with something like the camera or the microphone. Very, very rare that I edit anything more than just to remove filler words or the ends and the beginnings, right? People appreciate that organic nature of video. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be massively professional even.
Right.
They just want to see the real
That comes from practice, Paul. That comes from practice, because I, like you, take out filler words and I take out the front and the end, just like you. Yeah. But that comes because you have 800 on YouTube, 800 hours. I've probably done 120 shorts on LinkedIn in the last 4 or 5 months. So that comes from practice, guys.
And the first few are going to be poor. Like, there's no getting away from it, but you'll never get to your 100th and you'll never get to a really good level if you don't start posting the poor stuff as well. And if you record it and you never post it out, you'll never get going. So just get going. You'd be surprised how forgiving people are. Time is something else that people come back to. You know, I've got a very busy schedule and I don't have time to record video, and it takes me forever to get all set up, and etc. etc. Newsflash, you're procrastinating. Every one of us have the time to be able to do video content. It doesn't take as long as you think if you practice at it and get it right. Again, as we've said, it takes practice, it takes repetitions, it takes iteration, but it does become efficient after you've done it for a while. The tall and short of it is, if you don't prioritize it, that's when you fail to find the time. And so another thing that people need to overcome is that video content specifically is something that works in the medium to long term rather than just in the short term. And so you're kind of able to deprioritize it because you will know that you're not going to put the video out and get a client from it today. Whereas some of these other activities that I can do might do that, you know, sending messages on LinkedIn or whatever. But the tall and short of it is, this is helping you plant an orchard that you hope will one day bear fruit if you're doing this right, so that you can go and pick low-hanging fruit, as opposed to running around like a headless chicken every day, wondering where your next client's going to come from. So reframe the prioritization in your head, and you will be able to find time to do it. But don't be scared of looking for support if you're able to do that, you know, not necessarily paid support even, but just advice from people who've been there and done it. I spend a lot of time helping people get off to be able to do things themselves. Like, it's not about finding clients all the time. It's about making sure that people understand that there's efficient ways of doing this. The next thing that I talk about is technology. So there's a lot of people out there who dislike intensely technology, or are comfortable with technology that is to do with their job role or their business, and see that the technology tools like Descript and Opus or whoever, you know, StreamYard, as being really technical, really hard to use programs that they just have no interest in learning. And what I'd say again is, you've got a decision to make. You can either learn to upskill and get this done so that you can be efficient and do it yourself, or you need to find someone who can help take the technology side of things out of your hands. But technology has come a long way. So if you've previously looked at video tools and thought, oh, there's no way I can do this. I started editing in iMovie on the Mac. That is horrendous.
Me too. That was terrible.
That is not fun.
That was terrible.
That used to take me 20 hours a week to edit a 30-minute podcast.
Right.
Now I'm using tools like, go on.
Yeah, now it's all done by text. You know, you get the transcript, you just take out the words that you don't want, and boom, AI is helping you. Hey, I just want to point out, Paul, we've got about 15 minutes left on the presentation or the whole podcast. So I do want to get to the YouTube part of this. Yeah, this is amazing. And we have comments. People are like, yes, anxiety is real. Is it today Javelin's birthday, Paul?
It's this month. It's this month.
Okay,
it's my
that's awesome.
third year in business.
Third year in business.
As of the start of this year, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
There was a comment about that. So
exciting
that's
times.
fantastic.
Exciting times. Hi,
Congrats.
Danny. Thank you. So yeah, ultimately, there's a lot of things that are in people's way in terms of getting started. And I'll drop, Dorien, I'll happy to provide you with the slides from this so people can look
Perfect.
through it in their own
Yeah.
time. There's no worry about that. But I basically learned the hard way. I went out 15 years in retail and policing, jumped into an AI tech startup in the middle of COVID in 2020. And I figured out how to use video to create a pipeline worth $25 million ARR. All right, with no sales background, no marketing background. And at the end of that time, I figured it was time to start sharing my knowledge with a wider audience and helping more businesses. So I know that what I'm talking about works. It just took me a long time to figure out how to explain it to people.
Sure.
So where do we start? The tall and short of it is I can't give you all the answers, right? You've got to figure things out for yourself. And even a good content strategist will know, like I'm sure you do as well, Dorien, is that ultimately a lot of the job is about finding the answers from the clients themselves, rather than giving all the answers directly. And what I came to understand was I described this I was on a call with a good friend of mine and he'd asked this exact question. How do I get started? What should I record video about? And I was sick of not being able to answer that question in a comprehensive way. So what I said was, well, let's try this. Imagine that in 18 months' time, you've got a YouTube channel that's wildly successful. And you can define what wildly successful means, whether that's thousands of views a month or you're getting qualified inbound leads coming straight to you. And I'm not saying by all means that you have to have a YouTube channel, although I would highly recommend one if you haven't considered it, because a YouTube channel is unique in that it allows you to curate your own custom playlists and organize your videos in a way that you can present them to a potential client or somebody who might become a client and take them on a journey from one end of the buying journey right to the other end. So I'm a big fan of kind of just taking a moment, understand that there's a channel out there that you haven't built yet, and it has 3 playlists in it. One of those playlists has content in it that helps you raise your awareness of your business. So knowing that you exist, what you should be known for, who you are, why people should care who you are, what's your expertise. The next playlist should deal with consideration. So I've got on the screen, I've got understanding your products and services, but that's fine. But also, as I've come to change that slightly, that how would you advise them to solve the sort of problems that you fix without using somebody like yourself, showcasing that you're an expert, raising that authority level. And then finally, decision making. So the third playlist is about, right, if somebody has decided that they want to buy services like what you provide or a product like that you have, how would they differentiate between you and the next person? What's unique about you? Why would they care? And the key is to understand at a very deep level, and this is, goes back to the market and strategy and all, is understanding your audience. Who are the target industries that you're going to aim this content at? What are their job titles? What do you know about that person? What do they enjoy? What do they not enjoy? How senior are they? And making sure that you're addressing that customer journey with maybe just 1 or 2 people in mind rather than your entire audience. Just keeping it simple, because you can always flesh this out more once you've created something to get you going. And this is usually when I explain this to people usually then, especially business owners who are coming to me for the first time, it blows their mind that it's that easy to create a strategy, because all you're going to do is create 3 playlists, name those playlists, and then every piece of content that you create, you need to check whether it fits within one of those 3 playlists.
I think this is brilliant. Let me ask you a question right now. So somebody who already has a YouTube channel like me, who has created playlists based on topics versus this this awareness piece. Do you suggest somebody like me rearranging, and what do you call a playlist? Do you call it, you don't call it awareness, you would call it something, the awareness piece is Like, I'm asking a practical question, I guess.
Yeah. So for me, I have a playlist I have a weekly newsletter, and my weekly newsletter I do via video, and I turn it into a newsletter that I then send out via email and on LinkedIn, and I post it on YouTube as well for people. And that for me is a big part of my middle playlist, my consideration playlist, because it's showcasing ideas and thoughts that are helpful to people, that showcase I know what I'm doing. And I've just named that my content classroom, because that's my newsletter name.
I like it.
So it doesn't need to be, all I'd say is, as long as you know what your playlist is trying to achieve, right? And to your point, having playlists about topics is great. That's perfect also, because that sits within this. If you're first time on YouTube and you're creating from scratch, maybe the topic-based playlist is something that you create down the line once you've created your first 3, because a lot of people want to get to the point where they're converting people first.
Right.
I find that there's a lot of people who, like us, who are very good at creating content, and we are what we call creators. We've already got a plethora of content that we just kind of repurpose into YouTube.
Right.
So this is kind of aimed more at the people who are just kind of creating things from scratch. But you're absolutely right. If you've got that topics-based content, and I've got one on how to stop lurking on LinkedIn, for example. It's very valid. It's very relevant. Like, how can we change that mindset to get you active on LinkedIn? As long as you know that there is a point to that playlist where it sits in that buyer journey, and the content that you create to go in the playlist also sits within that playlist, and it just stops people from creating that disjointed content that, like, okay, so where are you going with this? And it'll flow nicely within that. As long as it flows nicely, it'll convert people, and it'll convert the right people.
I love it. I love this idea. And you have, for those of you who are not that familiar with YouTube, you can put playlists up on the top. So when you have your YouTube channel, you can make it look whichever way you want it to look. And you can have playlists like right at the top. So if you have like your content classroom sitting as a second tier, people would go there. That makes a lot. I love this visualization. I love this idea, Paul. This is really great. So there's probably a lot of us listening who are like, yeah, I did it by topic, or I did it by podcast season, or I did it by length. Because my next question to you is, Paul, does everything in these playlists that you create in these buckets, does it have to be the same type of content? Because I've always, somehow in my mind, I feel like all the shorts need to be in a playlist, and then the longer videos need to be in a playlist. Do you mix and match?
So, I mean, good question, really good question. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here, if I'm honest. And I'm going to be a little bit diplomatic. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I personally don't put any of my shorts or short videos into a playlist anymore. I launch them onto the YouTube. I let them hit the feed, and I know that if somebody searches for that title, it's going to get found, and it'll direct them to other videos. So I think if we're going to talk pure YouTube for a second, I guess the important thing is that when you've got your playlists on the screen, it needs to look nice and uniform. So whilst I don't have a problem with shorts being mixed with videos, I think when you do it, it looks a bit jaggedy, and it upsets my eyes a little bit. Again, I'm not a graphic designer, but so for me, YouTube, and again, when you're thinking about the video and what you're going to put in the video, think about what the title of the video might be and what you might have on that thumbnail. What people don't realize is a lot of the time that the file name, the title of the YouTube video that you type in is what people find you by if they're searching. But the thumbnail is what drives them to click on the video and watch it in the first place. So you need both in order to win. For me, if you're putting shorts in with long form videos or medium form videos, 5 to 10 minute videos, it looks a little bit disjointed. So I would probably put shorts in their own video section, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. I was just, again, the visualization of this, what it would look like, to me, that question popped up immediately, because I've done a lot of playlists, and like the shorts have their own playlist, but then I even have playlists within the shorts. Like, these are about this topic and these are about that topic. But I love this idea. Paul, we're out of time. Can you believe this? This is only a 30-minute podcast. I just think this is a brilliant framework for anybody that wants to step up their content strategy for YouTube, but also anybody who is like, well, how does this make sense? You keep telling me to do video. Dorien, you keep telling me. Paul, you keep telling me. But this, visualizing what it would look like on YouTube and having the funnel, having a visual funnel with videos, that whole thing, awareness, education, and then, the sale is like the traditional, the top of the funnel, mid of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. It makes a lot of sense. So since we're out of time, Paul, tell us real quick, where can people find you, learn more about you, connect with you? Because obviously you just said you used to do webinars. People can learn from you. Anybody that's connected to me should definitely connect to Paul. There's, I'm learning from Paul. This is great. I love this. I absolutely love this. So tell us.
Hands on heart, I'm very proactive on LinkedIn, as you've probably guessed. So that's probably the easiest way to find me. And if you want to check out my YouTube channel, which is still a work in progress, so please don't shoot me, at Javelin Content. And you'll see all my webinars, podcast appearances, and all my playlists all on there.
That's wonderful. So anything that I forgot to ask about this content strategy, or anything you want to drive home, talk to a small business owner who's heard me speak about video, who's now heard you talk about a YouTube channel. If there's one piece of advice as we leave, what would it be, and how can you make them take step one?
I think 2024 was the year of video. No doubt about it. Everything started pushing towards video. In 2025, if you're not creating video, one, you're not being the most efficient you can be with your time and effort, because video can be the start of pretty much all the other types of content that you create. But also your competition are now already, I can guarantee it, starting out on video or are doing video already. So you're being left behind. I don't like seeing good people left behind. Hands on heart. It's difficult, but lean into it. That's why you'll be a success at it, because if you can lean into your challenges, you will be successful. So be brave, take the leap, get the first video produced, and find somebody to help hold you accountable, because you will not want to do a second one. Sorry.
I love it. Paul, this conversation's amazing. I am so excited that we are setting up another conversation on your podcast where I can come talk about strategy as well, and all things social media. But appreciate you kicking off season 4 of Strategy Talks. If you've stayed all the way to the end, I want to make sure that we appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching today, and also for listening on our podcast. I'll be back next week with another episode of Strategy Talks, and see you all later. Bye, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.